6 clubs at 5 or 6 schools right now, nationwide. We're going to be adding one at NYCC, potentially one here at LACC, Logan, and then Palmer South in the coming months by the end of 2014. So that there can be constant touch points, right? So that you guys can constantly be training and diving in deeper and surrounding yourselves with people that are like-minded, people that are pursuing excellence in practice that you guys can fellowship with. So the AMP page, AMP now has a lot of, the fuel event is a lot of different fuel events. The fuel events are a kind of an advanced training that's like outside a club. You come together and break down a specific topic. So we went and did one recently at Life University in Marietta. I went in to do video work. I flew in to do video work with Dr. Jeremy, and so we decided to do a fuel event that weekend. We flew Dr. Eric Brower down, which is one of our mentors. Dr. Eric Brower is in upstate New York, just broke 1,000 visits a week, right at 3 years in a practice, just a phenom, just a phenom, and he and his wife. We went down there, and it's at 6 in the morning, an hour away from the school, and we had 120 students show up, and we just like broke things. I mean, it was like huge revelation breakthrough for students, where people are like sending us messages that change their lives. You know what I mean? The direction that they're taking chiropractic is that event. So we do a lot of those things. Those things are all recorded and they're free for you to watch them. I mean, it takes your diligence. You know, I kind of had it out the other day with a student that is a part of one of our programs, and they're like, you know, they're like said something about to me like, this was absent of our conversation today. They said that they're part of it, but they're not diving in. And Jake, what are you doing, that creepo? No. Take a picture and tell them what you said about what you thought busy was when you had your son in school and stuff. No, take a picture. Take a picture. So he was just sharing in the car.
My wife says I want to do one
Yeah.
thing at a time. Yeah, so I had my son when I was in 6th trimester at Palmer, and I was just going into student clinic, and me and my wife were talking about, like, you know, this is the busiest we're ever going to be. You know, this is crazy. I'm not getting home until 7. Stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Carmen's like, I thought that I was busy then. You get busier, right? You don't even understand now how much time you have. And once you get into practice, and I don't even understand how these like 3 guys do it, it's like everything is, all your time margins are just shorter. I talk about this in Dr. My time is by far my most valuable asset.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's not lip service. It's like every second counts during the day.
And he was talking about how he could bless his team for when they break 300 visits a week. We're really big on incentivizing goals for team members, because it's like, man, so you got that carrot hung in front of their face, right? Because you want them to be striving for greater things, not just be an employee punching clocks, you know what I mean? Well, you know, he's like, should I bring them out to dinner, really nice evening out and stuff? And Jeremy and I both congruently said at the same time, pretty much, was that no, you know, give them a gift, get them something that they could decompress, maybe a spa day or whatever, because your time's so valuable. You know, maybe you should be with your wife and your kids, you know, or just chilling out, you know what I mean, and refreshing yourself rather than being out with your team and getting drained, so to speak, by being out on a Friday night. Because his time and his health and his being balanced with his family is far more important. Last night we were laying in bed. I was laying on my bed and I was facing Jake.
I was laying with you.
We're talking. Somehow our travel liaison that we have as an employee booked a room with. Normally we all separate, and we had one room with 2 double beds with the 2 biggest guys in AMP traveling with us, and I was like, it looked like a glorified cot. And we were close in that group. He's sitting there talking to me, and he's like doing things on his phone. And he's like laying there on his side. He's like talking to me. All of a sudden, I hear a noise. And I look over, and he's like, and he dropped his phone in between the nightstand and the bed. And he was just out. You know what I mean? He's working. In other words, he's working very, very hard. But yet he's here and he's serving you guys. And I mean, it's pretty amazing, man. I mean, I had a hard time leaving my practice a month or 2 in, because I was like, there's so much to do. There's just, you know, when the lights. I was talking to Kat last night. And I said, there's things that you guys do when the sun is up that requires the sun of the day. There's things that you do when the sun is down, it does not require light. You know, you spend your time with your family, things start to wind down, but when they go to bed, you know, that's not the time that you go to bed. You know, you got to get things done and respond to emails and walk in proper business etiquette. You know, Jeremy has taught me about how you treat other people that establish this level of excellence in your community and reputation. It's like always responding within, 24 hours through email or through voicemail when people have reached out to you, and just always putting lines through things. You know,
that's how this got started. They posted a Facebook thing saying they're going to Parker or something like that. I was like, hey, you guys plan on coming out here? And within, an hour, maybe, they're like,
we're going to Google Hangout within 24 hours.
Yeah,
2 days.
Yeah. They're like, well, we are now. So I was like, all right, sweet, that's good. Yeah. So they're
responding that way.
Sure.
Thanks, but I appreciate that because responding that was important.
And then we did 2 Google Hangouts, like to organize all of this. My time, 11:30, which is what time for you, Dr. Hess?
We did 2:30.
2:30.
So they're committed. They're not just speaking words here.
Well, the kids are in bed, right? The wife's down. You know, you spend your quality time with one another.
Like 11, 1.
Yeah. Yeah, you snuggle a bit, and then when you hear her snoring, you just slip out of the bed, and you get back on the computer like. You put a warm pillow next to her, she thinks you're there, and you just keep working. But you know, our point is this: is that it takes a significant amount of work, guys. But it takes you can work tirelessly to fail and suck. You know what I mean? You really can. And try to figure it back out, or you can work hard to achieve your goals and have a fruitful life for your family, for your community, for your practice, and that's a great place to be. That's the place I believe you guys deserve to be. You know what I mean? All of our friends do. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to be willing to pay the asking price. And the asking price can be steep, guys. I mean, it can be. But anything that's worth having takes a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? There was a kid that asked us a question about paying this guy $30,000, and they'll find your location, design your practice, pick the colors, paint it, build it out, manage the build out, and everything. It still costs you all the money for all that, but their fee is $30,000. And I said, that sounds wonderful, and that may be necessary for a certain population of people, right? I mean, some people are going to absolutely need that. I said, but I believe that's the difference of building an empire versus being a trustafarian, meaning someone that received a huge inheritance. It's a blessing to receive that inheritance, but that can cripple people also because you didn't do all the hard work to establish it. You don't know all the ins and the outs to maintain that money and value that money or value that trust fund. And so with the practice, it just hands you very similar to a franchise. Well, it kind of disables you a little bit as a business person because you don't know all the things that went into the negotiations and the understanding as to what it took to establish that. So if you want to do that again or you want to help somebody else do it, you won't have that knowledge and that experience. And so one of my mentors in business that helped, Jim Sims, that helped me establish our practice and negotiation methods, he made me read all these blueprints from previous architectural drawings that they did to open hospitals. He made me read leases that were like this thick, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to read that crap, dude. I don't have time. I need to get to my people. He's like, you stay up and you read that thing, or I won't work with you. He goes, this way you understand exactly what goes into it, so you appreciate it, you understand it, you can help other people do it someday, and now look. You know what I mean? And so it's a very valuable experience.
That's good. So we're going to jump back in, and before we get started, do you guys kind of feel like you have a little better understanding of the equation? That's really that equation is huge for chiropractic and for how you're going to build your future.
The expense line is the foundation. That is going to cost mainly everybody.
Yep.
Everybody's going to need to see whatever, whether you're seeing 80 or 100 people a week. Now it's about increasing those margins where you can get that nice spread, where the cost of living isn't changing, but your income is increasing over time.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too is with this being an associate. Remember, and again, if that's your sole purpose and that's what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. But being an associate, you look at these expenses. Are the personal expenses any different than being an associate? Same thing, right? The only difference is there might be a little less capital up front, right? But the payoff is going to be what? Very different, right? But as an associate, what do you still have to do? The most challenging thing about what we talk about today is actually, developing the practice, getting the practice going, meaning putting butts in the seats. What do you have to do as an associate? You're still going to have to put the butts in the seats.
And I think that's where where associates fail so regularly, and they blame the doc. They're like, oh well, you know what I mean? It's a bad ending. And the reason being is that I think when people don't realize that when you are an associate, it's still expected for you to deliver the goods. So you're gonna get a base salary, and then it's gonna be commission based on bringing new ones in and converting people to care, increasing collections, and all these things. Well, if you could do that on your own, if you're so good at that, you'd be doing it for yourself, right? So our goal is to prepare you to be able to do it no matter what for yourself. And if you choose to be an associate for a period of time, then that's awesome. You know what I mean? And then you're going to reach your commissions and you can have a fruitful life. The thing that we always say that with associates is like, man, we're going to pay them really, really well to bless them so they can have an abundantly blessed life financially, family-wise, and everything, so that they're not just working for – the average associate makes $20 an hour. We almost pay our CAs that. We don't. You know what I mean? They work their way up there, and every cost of living is different places. But did you guys go to school? Did you guys go to school all this time and accumulate almost $200,000 in debt? Some of you guys $400,000 if you're husband and wife team to make $20 an hour. Do you see why chiropractors will tell that X-ray story? Tell the X-ray story about the X-ray techs being scumbags and why. And why you think that they're
yeah. Both of them recently, and Michael, same thing. I saw 3 of you. It was like they put their X-ray units in. Right, and the X-ray tech, you meant like X-ray tech, not an employee, but X-ray, like people that sell your X-ray machines, that lead your walls and sell you the equipment and everything. It's like they're all very like, hey man, where's the check?
Like second day.
I need a down payment. It's like, hey man, what's going on? Where And the reason they're like that, the reason they're so antagonistic towards chiropractors is because they've been burned by too many DCs not being able to pay them the money that they are owed for their X-ray machines. Chiropractors not having the money, dragging their feet for months.
Because they think you're going to have less money as time goes on, so they want to get you before other bills start rolling in. I'm like, wait a second, you said I could pay this a certain amount of money for every 30 days. Why the hell are you standing in my waiting room on my second day open? And then he says he's doing the same thing. I'm like, what makes X-ray people scumbags? You know what I mean? Like, why are you in here, like, shaking me down? You know what I mean? I was like, I'm going to shank you. and it's because of the fact that the typical thing is the chiropractors aren't going to pay their bills. You know what I mean? And so that's like $20 an hour for an average associate. I mean, that's kind of a scary place to be. Most of us could go get a job at UPS or be a substitute teacher or do different things and make more money doing that. And that's why we see chiropractors default out of it. And there's too many. It's almost like great athletes. I think we were talking about that one day about how many wonderful athletes are out there that got caught up in drugs, got caught up in whatever, you know what I mean, the neighborhood, and never actually got out onto the field. They got to achieve greatness, and all that talent was lost. There's so many chiropractors, same thing. You know what I mean? That there's just so much talent and potential lost because the steps weren't taken properly where you guys are now.
Yeah, so cool. We're gonna start out, about the numbers. So what we all choose to do, and what we want you guys to choose to do, is for yourselves, financially, and the satisfaction of serving a lot of people, is to choose to look at that 80 visits and raise that, right? That's what launch is all about, because we can help make your future amazing, every dream that you ever had financially or success. Right? We know success is more than money. We know success is more than that, but that's a big part of it, right? The satisfaction of being able to pay your student loans off early, satisfaction of doing whatever you want to do. And with us, we talk about team stuff. When we hit 500 visits, we took our team to Disney World. Right? We had 1,000 visits. We went back to Disney World.
Disney World's not 5 minutes from practice like this.
It was like, and it wasn't like 2 team members. This is like many team members. And we took their spouses, their families. We have 1,500 visits. We went to New York City. I mean, stayed at like the W and did everything. So, and these trips were, each one easily over $10,000-$15,000 easily. And travel with our teams to conferences multiple times a year, thousands. And the only way we can do that is to be a team and be on a mission like that is because the money is producing income, right? And with us, it's like we work hard, we play hard. Right? When all of us go on vacation, it's like we go. I mean, I know I'm all over. We go. Like I have, Denver, Orlando. I got people that call chauffeurs, like limousines and stuff, and we go. And I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just painting the picture of what's possible. So for instance, it's like I spend with the family. It's like we spend $1,000 easily on just being chauffeured around. I don't get any Disney buses. I don't do any, because that time, the last thing you'll find me on is a magical bus from the airport to the hotel. I'm like, no way. So we get the Suburban, takes us from here to there, coffee in the morning.
The reason that's
that
important
kind of stuff.
is because of the fact that you work really, really hard. And you're serving a lot of people, and people are like literally they just suck the life out of you because that's what you're doing. That's what man. I mean, it's like the other day I had this girl that was like third doctor's report I've made her come to because she hasn't committed to care and she wants to get under care and she doesn't get it. And she comes in front of me, I'm like, what is Rachel the Panther doing here? She's like coming back to the doctor. Crying, anxiety's so bad, my depression's so bad, all this stuff. I was like, then commit to care, gal, right? And she's like, it's such a sacrifice, the money. She commits, 3 adjustments. She's like, I'm sleeping through my night, I haven't had a panic attack. She goes, I've gotten more done, and I was like, that's amazing. I was like, see, chiropractic works. She goes, well, I also got this oil that I bought online, and she goes, you just rub it right here, and she goes, and I'm doing that too. It's like all this sacrifice, all this work, all this like keep coming back, and you're giving it to a freaking oil. You're giving the credit to an oil. Like, I mean, like, what the hell, right? And so it's like that stuff drains you because you're like, you know what? It's like you're talking yourself off the ledge of puncher in the Adam's apple.
The draining part is the draining part is that it's not draining. It's not draining that it's distracting. It's just that it's who you are. Is that you love them anyway. You love them through the process, and that you love them through the process of keep adjusting them, keep getting them to understand the big idea. Everybody's so used to the outside in, right? So outside in says it has to be an oil, it has to be a pill, right? It's got to be something out there to fix my problems. There's no way that we remove this interference. Like that's just so hard for people to comprehend. One of the things we always say at Doctor's Court is like, one of the things you have to understand, practice members, is that when you come to this office, there's 2 things when you go to most doctor's offices what's going to happen. A, they're going to put something inside of you, right? Or B, they're going to take something out of you.
That sounds so inappropriate. And your doctor's office.
So they're going to put something inside of you.
That's not how we flow. That is not how we flow.
You're going to take something. They're going to take something. Actually, I'm standing, so this is the sitting thing's going on. You're going to take something and put something inside. They're going to take something out of you, and we don't do that. What we do is we rely on the power to heal, and our objective in this practice is to unlock your healing potential. And we can unlock your healing potential, then your body can actually heal the way it's supposed to. Right? It's not a drug, it's not an oil, it's not a pill, it's not a massage, it's not exercise, it's not CrossFit, it's not yoga. All those things are great, but removing the interference is what you haven't done, and that's why you're where you're at now. So we can unlock your healing potential, give it time and repetition, the body can start to heal from the inside out. And that way you can be like me and my family. We don't have to do drugs. We don't have to do those type of things. We can let the body heal itself. Right? Is there a place for medical emergencies? Yeah, we're not talking about medical emergencies today. We're talking about day in, day out, being drug-free, and having your family grow up and making wise decisions that way. So I wanted to show you what's possible. And Price, you're going to click the light on here. So we're gonna start. We're gonna go backwards today. And so this is this is I mean this is me. This is what we do, all of us here. And the cool thing about this is that you click the lights a little bit. No, go back. I'm sorry.
I think the other light switch is up there, and it's gonna knock all of them out. So it's
the whole practice.
full right just right here.
Placenta lights are gonna go. That's fine. That's good.
Is there 2? That's fine. We'll do this. You guys okay?
You go to sleep, Mike, we go shopping now.
Yeah. Well, I'll post these real quick because I want to move into question and answers. But one thing here is that this is
Your
what
arms look really strong. What the hell is that? That's gotta be freaking. That's gotta be Photoshop.
So this is we talked about some of this terminology new for some of us. Doctor's report, right? Did everybody know what a doctor's report was before you came today? Okay. So doctor's report is the part of the process where people are coming in. So they'd come in the first visit, they'd gotten an office tour, they sat down with us or a team member, we did a brief consultation, we explained chiropractic to them, right, for a few minutes, got the spine out, just some general stuff. We did a chiropractic assessment evaluation with the diagnostic test we said last night with thermal reading and EMG and range of motion. And then we took chiropractic x-rays. And so then we invite them back the next day, and that's what this is. This is the doctor's report. Okay, so at the doctor's report, we're going to take a good chunk of time, maybe like an hour, 50 minutes in our practice, 45 to 60 minutes. The team member opens up for 8 or 10 minutes. they're talking, they're building the value up, and then myself, my wife will do that. So that's what this is. So what we want you to do is have a data report where you can maximize your time. Most schools, and I'm assuming the LACC model is similar to most schools, what they teach you, and Chris, I know your upper term here is, what do they teach you? They teach you typically, like first visit, you kind of do exam and x-rays, second visit, you do individual report findings?
I haven't really been taught anything what to do outside of the clinic, but in the clinic, we do a full, like, 4-hour exam, and then our lab. So
most things in chiropractic, they teach you where, you know, the first day you would do like exam and x-rays, and the next day you'd come back, and Mike would come back, and I would sit down in a room with him, and we would individually go over everything. Don't track me, right? Okay. So the problem with that is that you can't leverage your time that way, right? And that breaks down to about 200 or so visits a week. Because what happens is that if I spend 15 minutes with him going over his x-rays and findings, right? How many times can I do that in a day? I can't do that many times. And not to mention I'm doing it during adjusting hours. So what happens is that it's 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and you're up until 7, and you're starting to see a couple people now. You know, you're at that 150, 200 visits. So I had a report of findings appointment, which report of findings would be where I go over his x-rays with him. So I got one of those at 5 o'clock, and Susie's coming at 5:30, and John's coming at 6:30. So I got 3 of them in that 2-hour span. Y'all track with me? Right? Now I've also got to adjust people I'm adjusting too. So you finally got a little busier. Now what's going to happen? Oh crap! You know, I start adjusting, and then Michael shows up. Well, I go into Michael 5:30, and Michael has a few more questions than normal, and he freaking takes 20 minutes because his wife's with him, and she's badgering me about chiropractic. Now the reason she has so many questions is why? Well, first of all, you've never done an office tour, you've never done these things, you've never done anything like this. You're just going straight from an exam into going over the x-rays. They have a zillion questions about chiropractic. So what happens, I start to stress because I know that I have 8 people in the reception waiting to get adjusted, and my adjust rooms are full, so I start to rush with Michael. And guess what? Michael's wife can see that I'm rushing a little bit, right? So as I start to rush with Michael, then I go back and adjust. I'm like, oh crap, finally get out of there with him, sweating a little bit. So I start doing my adjustments. Guess what I'm doing there? I'm rushing a little bit too. And people can tell when you rush. Matter of fact, your adjustments are going to suffer, you know? And so what happens is this vicious cycle that defeats itself because you start to rush, and then what happens because you rush, then it's like this, then you spin backwards a little bit, then you kind of go back down to 100 visits a week, and then you build back up. Do you all track me? So that's why that it's an okay system if you want to reach that level, but if you want to go to a higher level, you want to leverage your time. You want to be able to get chiropractic as many people. That's why we do a system where we do doctor's report. So we answer all their questions. So we answer all their questions in a group setting, and then after this is done, we individually take them back to go over their x-rays and financials. And by that time, there's very few questions. The questions are only pertinent to maybe some financial questions. The questions about, will this help me? What about my arthritis? What about the sciatica? You know, I understand the x-ray, you know, those kind of things. And typically, 99% of those questions have already been answered and done the correct doctor's report. That way, it's like, and the other thing too is on visit to visit. If you don't do this type of model and you do like I said before, like you just kind of go over their x-rays, you answer a couple questions, each visit what will happen in those type of practices, nothing that slows you down, is that every time Nicole comes in, she has another question about chiropractic. Hey, you know, they start saying about digestive problems maybe. Maybe she asks about the hip joint. And the reason she's asking those questions is because she never got a bigger idea of chiropractic. So every time she comes, she's got a question. You know, multiply that by 30, 40 people seen that day. It's a lot, right? We talk about this. It's like, you know, if you think about, let's say you're seeing 150, let's just say 100 visits a day. Okay. So you have a 400, you're 4 days a week, 400 visits a week, right? You guys can all obtain that, absolutely. So there's 100 visits a day, right, Nicole? So let's say you're in Washington State, and it's cold. It's winter time. Right? Is it get cold there, Wenatchee?
It's cold.
It's also known as Washington.
So, Washington State. Washington State apples. I mean, you know, so you don't say Washington apples, right? Zeus?
Yeah,
Say Washington State apples.
That's
All right,
fine.
Washington State apples. So, all right, so everybody's got their jackets on. Just want to talk about time for a second in your office. So you have 100 people coming in, and they all have, they'll have jackets and stuff on. When you get in the adjusting room, let's say they haven't taken their jacket off yet. So you walk in and their jacket's on. You say, oh, hey, can Mrs. Jones, you take your jacket off? How long does it